Meeting to order, we'll start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody to the work session, Monday, August 18th, 2025, 10:30 a.m. here at Town Hall. I will ask the Secretary Treasurer to call the roll.
Scott Horowitz.
Here.
Ed Warner, present. Chip Marin.
Here.
Joe McLaughlin.
Here.
Matt Parsons.
Present.
Paul Hemster, present.
Welcome everybody. Nice to see you here. I do see we have Mr. Michael Dole here from Stony Brook, who has a terrific presentation for us on oyster planting areas in the Shinnecock Bay. I'd like to jump right into it.
Good morning, everybody. So my name is Michael Dole. I'm from the Global Lab at Stony Brook University in Southampton. And I'm here today to present a project for a new oyster restoration area in Shinnecock Bay and request your permission for the project. It's in collaboration, so this is part of the Shinnecock Bay Restoration Program. And this project would be in collaboration with the supporting, the SOAR program, supporting oyster aquaculture and restoration, which is run by Pew Charitable Trust and Nature Conservancy. I will go through this quick, but I just started off with a little background and an update of what's been going on with the Shinnecock Bay Restoration Program, like I did last year when I was here. So the top figure is just showing hard clam landings in Shinnecock Bay up until 2012. And it's just showing this, severe decline in hard clam landings since its peak in the 1970s. And Shinnecock Bay has also experienced, since 1985, almost annual occurrence of brown tide blooms from 1985 through 2012. So because of these deteriorating conditions in Shinnecock Bay, the Shinnecock Bay Restoration Program was started in 2012. And the core strategy to improve water quality in the bay and end these brown tides has been to increase the biotic filtration in the bay, meaning to increase the number of bivalve shellfish, the filter feeders in the bay, to filter the water. The first decade of efforts were focused on hard clam restoration. And currently, we're really expanding efforts to restore oysters using some of the same techniques that we use for hard clams in the bay. And just one thing I want to point out, both hard clam populations and oyster populations in Shinnecock Bay are what we call recruitment limited, meaning they're just not producing enough babies, okay? The spawning stock is so sparse that they're just not producing enough babies for recruitment. So we call this a recruitment limited system. And to overcome that, we need stock enhancement. We need to put new stock in to increase recruitment. So the primary approach we use, working with the trustees, has been to establish spawner sanctuaries in the bay, harvest-free areas where we can plant adult clams, to increase the production of larvae. And we've established 6 hard clam spawner sanctuaries in 6 areas of western Shinnecock Bay, shown on the map here. And within each of these 6 areas, the adult clams are planted at high densities onto half-acre plots. Okay, rather than just spreading them out across the whole area, we put them on high densities, on localized plots, and that's to increase the fertilization efficiency. So the closer the males and the females are together, the greater the fertilization is going to be and the greater the production of larvae. So these areas were selected in western Shinnecock Bay because we have prior experiments showed that they support high clam condition in these areas. And then also, very importantly, maximize larval retention within Shinnecock Bay. We don't want all the larvae to get flushed out into the ocean. We want them to stay into the bay to repopulate. So there's a lot of hydrodynamic modeling done. That's what that bottom picture is showing. It's showing from the Tiana Bay spawner sanctuary. The yellow stars are the release points. The dark blue points are the particles after a week, and the light blue points are the particles after 2 weeks. After 2 weeks is when the larvae settle onto the bottom, and you can see a lot of the larvae are retained in eastern Shinnecock Bay. Some more recent mining that's been done over the last couple of years, we've also seen at the very western part of Shinnecock Bay, depending on the tide and wind conditions, there can also be westward transport of larvae. Okay, this is something we haven't talked about before, but just something and you'll see why that we just want to show it now. The release point here is that yellow star. That's kind of right by Dockers. Yeah, right there. That's kind of like right by Dockers. And you can see the westward transport of larvae through the Quag Canal all the way into eastern Moriches Bay. Okay, through Quantuck all the way into eastern Moriches Bay. And altogether from 2012 to 2021, we planted over 5 million clams into 104 plots in western Shinnecock Bay. So has it worked? A quick update, and I think you know a lot of these answers, but I just wanted to update the data through 2024. So we've done surveys annually since 2012, 66 sites across the bay where divers go down, put quadrats, and we sample all the clams there. And you can see the top plot is showing clam abundance. That's what's on the y-axis over time, and it's split in half for Western Bay and Eastern Bay. And you can see that the total clam abundance in Eastern Shinnecock Bay is up over 50-fold. That's just from 2015 to 2022. 50-fold increase in clam abundance, primarily driven by small clams, meaning so there's this huge increase in recruitment in Eastern Shinnecock Bay, which is what the hydrodynamic models predicted. And so we have this huge increase in recruitment in Shinnecock Bay. Those bars are color-coded for clam size, and so that big orange bar, those are tiny clams, okay? Most of them spawned in 2021, okay, and 2022. But so we have this 50-fold increase. The bottom is just a heat map showing densities of clams, and you can see much higher densities in the Eastern Bay than the Western Bay. The fisheries tracked these increases in abundance. So this is the top figure showing landings in Eastern and Western Shinnecock Bay. You can see 2024 was a record year over this time period. I remember last year when I was here, there was 2 baymen in the room who had predicted, they said they thought 2024, things were going great, and they had predicted that 2024 was going to be a top year. So if anybody ever, and I forget their names, but if anybody ever talks to them, tell them they're totally right. 2024 was this banner year. And this increase is being driven by little neck clams, small clams coming into the population. That's what that bottom graph is showing. The green bars are little neck clams, and you can just see it's mostly this increase in little neck clams. Those record hard clam landings in 2024, this is just something really nice, really corresponds nicely with the recruitment data that we saw. So I said we had that huge spike in recruitment that we observed in 2022. And that matches up perfectly. It takes a couple of years for the clams to grow up to market size, but that matches up beautifully with the spike in landings in 2024. And just to put it on a historical basis, that bottom plot is showing landings since 1970, so the last 54 years. 2024 was the highest landing since 1980, since before brown tides started. And this is also something really interesting that we're just seeing. But over the last several years, we're seeing an increase in hard clam landings in eastern Moriches Bay also. That's why I wanted to point out that westward transport of larvae from the westernmost sanctuaries. And the westernmost sanctuaries, by Stone Creek, those areas there, those were only planted in about 2020. That was part of the Long Island Shellfish Restoration Project. So that's matching up. So there's starting to be some evidence that there's also an increase. Larvae are being transported to eastern Moriches Bay. We're seeing an increase in there. It's a nice increase. Still, the landings are only about 1/6 of what they are in Shinnecock Bay, just so you know. I think we got almost 6 million clams out of Shinnecock Bay in 2024. And the streak continues with no brown tide. So it's now 7 years with no brown tides, 2018 to 2024. And you can see brown tide densities going back to 1989 before that. So this has been the longest period without brown tide since 1985. And a lot of this is published in a paper, which I've shown before. But if you're interested, just ask me and I can send you this paper if you don't have it already. But a lot of the data and other things about eelgrass expansion and all that is in this paper. So just quickly with oyster stock enhancement, where the focus has been on hard clams, we have done experimental stuff with oysters over the last 8 years or so. And our primary strategy there is to create what we call spat on shell. So we get a shell from various sources that we cure outdoors for a year, clean it, power wash it, put it into bags, 5 gallons of shell per bag. And then at Southampton Marine Station, we put them in tanks where we add oyster larvae. The larvae set on the shell, and that's spat on shell. We take these bags out to the field to build reefs. And you can see at the bottom right picture there, that's the picture of Sedge Reef several years ago. So that's in Western Shinnecock Bay. And we've seen very strong growth of the oysters, okay? And so each year since 2018, we've put out spat on shell. So that top picture is just showing the growth of each cohort of oysters that we put out since 2018. So we get this magnificent growth. Oysters grow upwards. So you can see them growing upwards on that picture of the reef in the field. But the other thing we've found is the oyster lifespan is pretty short in Shinnecock Bay. Really, most oysters don't live past 4 to 5 years of age, and that's largely because of the disease derma. And there hasn't been no recruitment to the reef. So as I pointed out at the beginning, these populations are recruitment limited. So over time, the oysters die, and with no recruitment to sustain the reef starts to collapse. And that's what we're seeing from some of the older oysters we put at Sedge. We're starting to see that collapse now without recruitment. So it's really important to build recruitment in the bay for oysters. And that's where the SOAR program has really helped out a lot. So the SOAR program, it's a national program run by Pew Charitable Trust and the Nature Conservancy, where they purchase oysters from oyster farmers, from farms, and then relocate those oysters to nearby restoration programs. So here in New York, the Shinnecock Bay Restoration Program is the primary partner. The oysters are being purchased from farms in the Peconic Estuary, and then transferred to us, where we plant them into sanctuaries in Shinnecock Bay. So the first round of SOAR program happened back in 2021, and it was all started because of COVID, right? Oyster farms could not sell oysters, the restaurants were closed. This program came in to support the farms, bought all their big, ugly oysters that they could not sell anymore, and then transferred them to restoration programs like us. So in this first round, we planted 180,000 oysters all the way in Western Shinnecock Bay. You can see marked with that yellow area. And then the second round of oysters, which was just this past year, and that's what I was here last time to ask permission for this spot. We established a new restoration area off of Pine Neck in Weesuck Creek. And I'll just give you an update on that. So this is just showing the Pine Neck area up close. It's a 200 meter by 10 meter area. We divided it up into kind of 20 subplots. And on every other one, in 10 sub areas, we put down a base of shell. Okay, we put down a total of 11 cubic meters of shell. You can see some of that effort in the pictures on the bottom. And then on each of those areas where we put down shell, we put down 20 bags of spat on shell, kind of making little walls, giving the reef three-dimensional structure. And then we planted about 300,000 market-sized oysters from the SOAR program across this area. Before the oysters are planted, they're all brine dipped, okay? And this is a biological security control to kill foul organisms off of the oysters, including oyster drill eggs, which will be sometimes on the shells. And so a 10-minute brine dip and then put it out in the sun pretty much kills all the fouling off of that. And we do that before we plant all these oysters. And so now, just to get bringing this to why I'm here now, to ask permission for a new restoration area. This one is in Eastern Shinnecock Bay. It would be the first spot in Eastern Shinnecock Bay for a restoration area. It's close to the Shinnecock Canal, so you can see in the top picture the Shinnecock Canal. The area is located just off an undeveloped piece of property just east of the Shagwan Marina. The street that comes down is Pawnee Street. And I believe this spot was suggested to Dr. Gobler, perhaps Ed and Scott. I think you guys had a conversation and said this might be a spot.
Yes.
The reason why we're really interested in this area, okay, and there's 3 reasons. First, our models predict that larvae are retained here, okay? So these are showing a couple iterations of larvae being released from that spot, okay, where the star is. And you'll see everything's retained. This is like a retention area right in here for larvae. So we feel oysters that we put here, larvae are going to be retained in this area in the bay. Second, this is where the highest natural recruitment is in Shinnecock Bay. The top map is showing areas where we've measured recruitment. There's actually a couple more areas in other years that we measured too, but you can see the hot spot, that red dot is up by the canal, and also those yellow spots. So that whole area is having a good amount of natural recruitment. You can see the naturally recruited oysters in those bottom pictures. That's right behind the restaurant Cowfish. That's one of our study sites. And tremendous oysters. In fact, I was just there the end of last week, and there's a beautiful set from this year too over there. They're substrate starved, okay? So a lot of the area is muddy. You're not going to find the oysters in the mud. They're on the rocks, okay? So that's what you're seeing in that picture. They're actually, I also noticed this last time I was there was a piece of PVC on the ground. They'll attach on anything they can find, not the mud though. So there are substrate limited, but where you find rocks, we get pretty high density. Some of these densities are up to like 500 oysters per square meter. Might only be 1 meter patch, but that's what the densities get to when they have the substrate. And then the final reason, this is just a nice firm sandy bottom, has a lot of rocks and shells, this substrate. So this spot, these are some pictures from the proposed location on the beach. So you can see I guess there was rocks put down there for shoreline protection. We're seeing oysters on some of those rocks on the lower part. And then you can see on the sand, there's just a lot of shell and small rocks. So it's very cobbly. And when you pick up these pieces of cobble, you can see on the pictures there's natural oyster set on the bottom here. So those are the reasons for the spot. We're really going to build it out the same way we did Pine Neck. We'll put down we still have some more cured shell. We're going to put down a base of shell. Plant the oysters from the soil program on top. And that we would like to do that this fall in October, November. That's when the soil program intends to purchase the oysters. And then next year, we'd add some spat-on shell to it too to build it out. But for this year, for this fall, would be to basically put shell down and put the soil oysters there for this year. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's a good project.
Thank you.
You know, that's the area that's just to the east of the site that we utilize to work with the Army Corps to build up the beach, just south of Shagwang, to clear open the channel. The Intercoastal Waterway at the southern end of the Shinnecock Canal was, very problematic, and we utilized the area just to the west of that. It's beautiful sand, and it's a good spot, I think, for what.
Yeah, the proposed area does have quite a bit of rock substrate and larger boulders and old, jingle shells and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So, as far as clutches for juvenile oysters, it might be I know it's a really good area. So.
Well, like I said, you're the one that originally pointed us in that
Well,
direction.
it's a very unique area too, because the way the canal configuration runs, the last part of falling tide in Shinnecock Bay or the first part of rising tide, the water still runs out of the canal, but it literally eddies around there because the water comes in from the inlet and hits Shinnecock Hills and goes in 2 directions, west and east, and they both collide literally off of the Rock Causeway off of Peconic Road, and it pushes all of that water, and basically that little eddy stays there with an easterly wind for 2 or 3 or 4 days. So if you do have a set of oysters in the water, and they will, have a much greater chance to set on the bottom.
I think that's what the model's showing, just what you said. You see how that's just kind of,
Exactly right.
just
Well, it's kind of ironic you're talking about shell and spat on shell. Trustee Parsons gave me 2 bags of shell that I put two of them in Mecox and one of them down at Canoe Place Road on my boat slip, and I'm just curious to see what has set on them. So I'll pull them out and we'll take a look at it.
Yeah,
So
I haven't checked on mine up in Flanders yet either. I don't want to disturb anything.
yeah,
before it's all,
but I think it's time to look, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
either
yeah.
now or never.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still small, so when you put it out in the shell, in fact, 'cause, I have just bags of shell at Cowfish for the same reason, just to see what sets on it. It's hard to see on the bags of shell because they're still so small. We put out some other plates at Cowfish, different types of plates, basically just a piece of slate, and beautiful recruitment on them. It's much easier to see because it's a black piece of slate, so you can see. The hard part is just telling the jingle shells apart from the oysters because there's a huge jingle shell set also.
Mhm.
But pretty much every slate we put out had a good number of oysters on it.
Yeah, you say slate. Old man Froelich, he told us a while ago that bluestone is kind of what Blue Points used to use.
Yeah.
You know, like bluestone was kind of one of the best recruitments for and it's the amount of surface area you have with a piece of bluestone is a lot. You know, so
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and the texture too, like the way they're
Yeah.
cut, there's they look smooth, but they're
There's
not. They're
crevices,
actually got a
yeah.
little rough.
I know. I often think about mixing that stuff in with rock revetments. It's a different type of
Yeah.
rock.
we
It's
would have to get
calcium-based.
clearance from the DEC. But it would be nice if you could just do like a comparative study of the bluestone versus shell of the recruitment. I'd be curious.
We'll have a little bit of that from this year because we put out shell and the bluestone right next to each other.
Yeah,
so
that'd be great.
Yeah. we'll be
Thank
able
you.
I do have one question. You talk about Dermo in the western part of Shinnecock Bay, and that's why the oysters only live 4 or 5 years. Is Dermo salinity driven? Like if you
Yes.
put it in a very if we were to take oysters and do a reef in the headwaters of Quantic Bay up by Montauk Highway Bridge, and the salinity is lower up there, would we get a better success rate as far as longevity
Yeah.
and
So directly, yes. I don't know what the salinity is there. You want to try to get below 15 on salinity, and then Derma really doesn't like it below 15. But I think one reason Mecox is is like the oyster mecca of Long Island is because you get those low salinities in there when the cut is closed, and
Yeah.
so that's one of the reasons that is such a great spot. We have a project in Georgia Pond also. Out in East Hampton, but it's very similar to Mecox Bay. There aren't oysters there, but we think and there is a lot of water quality issues there, but we believe it would be a perfect habitat for oysters for that same reason because you get those low salinities and oysters that we've put there. Simultaneously, we put oysters in Shinnecock Bay and Georgia Pond, the same oysters. Survival is, the oysters that are 6 years old in Georgia Pond, we have about 50% survival still also. Whereas in Shinnecock Bay, it's almost nothing. So it's really
Well, they
that low
also don't
salinity-
grow in the low salinity either.
They grow much slower in low salinity. Yeah.
But
So there's a
then
trade-off there. They
the
grow slower.
MSX, we haven't seen any much MSX.
No.
So is because I know that MSX and then QPX was the Australian kind of variety is kind of like silt based. Usually silt is kind of what causes like a MSX to flourish. Is Dermo similar to that? Like when you get are they weaker when they have siltation?
I don't think so. I'm not, to be honest with you, I don't know about that. Any additional stresses will make an organism more susceptible to
Yeah.
these things, but I'm not sure about siltation in the relationship with derma. But yeah, MSX, I believe it is. That's part of the transmittal is the organisms in sediments.
Yeah.
MSX. I mean, the only time I saw MSX was probably 20 something years ago, and that was.
That's when all the oyster farms started.
Yeah, and that was further west. I don't know, separate, but yeah, very rare. I don't see MXX, but dermo is pretty much ubiquitous everywhere except low salinities.
Is there any rough projections as to when we could see numbers back to what they were in the 70s, or is there no kind of way to determine that?
As far as hard clams go, like I pointed out, the landings were at where we were in 1980.
Right.
So we are getting there, and there is evidence. I'll just flip back very quickly, just to go back to the. Sorry, let me just get the landings. If you look at the landings for the last 4 years, I mean, you can see how it dropped, went back
Right.
up.
Right.
We may be reaching a plateau.
Okay.
Okay, and I think, Ed, you kind of thought that too. I mean, it looks like we might be, so you might be seeing a lot of up and down, but at a much higher level than we were.
But you also have to be very careful because there was about 100 more baymen in the 80s. And everybody yoking on a clam right now has a white beard. So,
Yeah, so fishing,
I
you're-
think,
you're
you know,
right.
like there's,
Yeah.
I think the landings are excellent considering how many guys are actually baymen
That's a
anymore in
great
the town.
And
Yeah.
we don't have the survey data to know how many clams are in the ground. We just have landings data,
Right,
right?
okay.
And so,
But if you looked at how many permits that the town issued for commercial
Yeah.
permits in 1980 versus how many commercial permits we issue now,
It's a
I mean,
fraction.
not even a fraction. I mean, it's like 0.01. So, yeah,
good point.
we're doing really well. Again, it's sustainable. It's a good number of guys working that area for the amount of productivity that the bay is producing.
That's the key.
There was as many kids in high school clamming as there are people on the bay in the 70s.
Yeah,
Really,
no,
Yeah,
100%.
Different ballgame.
different world out there.
Correct.
But,
What are
but
the GPS coordinates for the proposed area, please?
So I didn't put it in the presentation, but I did send back, and I'll send it again, but I sent a document that has the corner coordinates of that rectangular area.
Somebody
let me
could,
just send
somebody
it.
could send it to me, that would be great.
That was
Yeah,
like, James, that was, I think a month ago or something like that when I sent that. But yeah, so we had that.
So I can draft the agreement.
Yep, correct.
So I believe we're all good with this, right?
No,
That's
I-
good. Yeah,
I'm-
we're good. It's just a matter of we'll get all the points together and then we'll take care of it and another successful project.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Mike,
All right,
Mike, can you just sign the signage?
sure.
Thank you.
Moving right along, we have another presentation by Dr. Christopher Gobler on Mecock Sag and Big Fresh. And I see- No slides? Okay, come on up and talk. Good.
What a great job Mike did. man.
Mike's doing a great job. Mike's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Appreciate all
Great
of your
language
efforts,
working
Mike.
And it's just been an incredible program if you think about where we started.
No, I remember that.
Yeah. And all the credit to the trustees. I remember saying, "Oh, I want to create a spawner sanctuary."
Yeah. Well, you had a lot
First-
of public buy-in and.
Yeah. Well, the first thing you guys there said, "Great, let's go talk to the baymen."
Yeah.
But that was a great partnership, right? We
was
got
great.
all the baymen to buy in as well.
Yep.
And they've been like policing the sanctuaries even.
Yes,
So
it should be.
and it's obviously paid off big time.
Remember the meetings that we had in Hampton Bays at the community center? We even had
Yes.
this ex-state assemblyman Fred Thiel there,
Yep.
Baymen's Association, everybody around the table. And I think that's really why you have, good success. You got everybody with skin in the game.
Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
People are using and making a living from the bay. Yeah. So I'm very happy that Mike covered all those things. So I don't have to cover it.
Great.
So yeah, I want to talk about Mecock, Sagaponic, and Big Fresh Pond. On the Big Fresh Pond front, Joe, you had shared with me the proposal that you had gotten.
Yes.
You probably didn't see it, or maybe you did, but within the last hour, I sent a proposal to do a study of Big Fresh Pond, a 1-year proposal, so you could look at it. And I'll just describe what it is right now.
That's great.
It's meant to be time series sampling during the time of year where we think we'd see water quality problems and when people are enjoying Big Fresh Pond. So that's probably going to be like May through October, and in those time looking at levels of bacteria, specifically Enterococcus, which is what you need to measure for swimming, looking at levels of harmful algal blooms potentially or algae in the water, nitrogen, phosphorus, and overall water quality, sort of on a weekly basis. And then on a monthly basis, the study will be a complete spatial survey of the pond with a focus on the same things, but also on the aquatic vegetation. In speaking to people who use the pond, it's overgrown with all sorts of different macrophytes. People like to swim on the pond have to literally use a rake to clear out a path in order to do that. So those surveys are meant to be on a monthly basis through the same season, because of course with any kind of vegetation there's going to be a seasonal cycle. So just doing it once, you get a snapshot of that particular month. And then there's meant to be whole system surveys as well. So survey the bottom to get a full bathymetry of the entire system. Survey the bottom in order to understand what the sediments are like at the bottom. Survey the bottom, understand what the life is like at the bottom. Also to conduct a fish survey of the whole system, and also look at groundwater flow and understand what's coming in there, and get a sense of, from a nitrogen and phosphorus perspective, which of those compounds might be driving the system, whether it's a nitrogen-driven or phosphorus-driven system. So that includes everything in the proposal that you had sent, Joe, or you had received, right? The trustees received, but even more, because I think the thing that I'm proposing that wasn't in that proposal is to get more of a time series through the season.
Yeah.
Things change,
Right.
and if you just do a snapshot on one day, you sort of miss some of the seasonal dynamics. But anyway, that's for you to look at and you can think about, and I'm happy to, if we think it's a good study, happy to do it, get to a contract and get that done.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And then let's see. I don't know if you want to talk about Mecox first or
Do SAG.
SAG first. Okay, yeah. So it's been a pretty unique year for Sagaponack. And most years, firstly, as you know, for Sagaponack and Mecox are the two bays that are temporarily open in the town, and two of the three in the whole state that are in this temporarily open status. I don't know when the opening started for Sagaponack.
April 17th.
Okay, and it's held ever since, which is, I don't have the full records, but in my experience, at least during the last,
Not since the 80s.
yeah, okay, certainly that, yeah, I've never seen it.
You used to do that quite in the 80s because
Yeah.
there was, like I mentioned to you before, that the old timers used to walk that pond and get about 10 bushels of oysters a walk around the pond.
Okay,
So
interesting.
that, and it was always, it would stay open for months and months and months at a time because it's a lot higher level. So
Yeah.
it can pop itself easy. Mecox can't pop itself. SAG can open itself.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, because in the last, since I've been monitoring Sagaponack Pond, what I've seen in the summer is that the cut gets open and then it closes within a few days, right? And so and it's usually closed. The spring opening is usually,
A day or two.
yeah. So it's
And
been very
then-
open and then closed. So whatever, whether it's the way the channel was dredged, and
We opened the
maybe-
channel on the beach renourishment project.
Yeah, I think those two
Those
things
two
together.
combinations have kind of, in my mind, helped both ponds stay
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the lower part of the pond, the water quality has been great, right? Because it's getting flushed by the top. This in some ways, this is an interesting experiment, right? Compare this year to prior years. One interesting thing is that the further up in the pond, water quality is certainly better, and it's not prone to these blue-green algae because the salinity's it's about 25 in the lower pond, and it's somewhere by the bridge, like around 20, maybe a little bit lower.
That much of a drop. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the interesting.
That's
thing,
an
'cause
interesting.
you
That's a
get-
lot of
you-
fresh
you
water
still
to-
get- even
yeah.
though we're in a drought, you do still get fresh water coming in there. But we are in that particular area. We are seeing higher levels of algae, not blue-green algae, but algae overall, and some of the bacteria also. So it's
Macro or micro?
micro. Yeah,
Brown or greens?
green, not blue-green, but green algae.
Green algae. I mean, that's good, but that's oceanic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that the flushing that's happening, therefore, it's flushing out the lower half really well, but it doesn't really, the tides aren't reaching up, and so that's an interesting experiment. I hadn't seen that in the past. But I think we have an oyster cage out there. where we're looking at oyster growth. That's more towards the lower half. And we have our continuous monitoring device. So I'm sending weekly, James and Chip, you're getting
Yeah.
all the data. It's measured every 10 minutes. And, mainly when I look at it, I'm focusing on what's the salinity doing, because that tells you how well it's flushing. And the salinity's been high. You get a sense that, maybe it's starting to get a little bit
Well, that's because
shallower.
it snakes. So what happens
Yeah.
is it'll snake, and then all of a sudden it'll straighten itself out and blow that sand back out
Yeah.
to sea, and then it'll have a huge flush again.
Yeah. But right now, so the salinity's been dropping a little bit. So the salinity's now down to about 25. But the oysters are doing well, and unlike in years past, because the cut's open, no sign of these blue-green algae blooms. So there's been, every year, SAG's been prone to blue-green algae blooms, prone to toxins from these blue-green algae. We're not seeing that, and again, that's because twofold. The flushing is cleaning out the lower half, and even the upper half, where it's not flushing as well, it's still keeping the salinity high enough to keep the blue-green algae away.
Any macroalgae in there, like widgeon grass or any of that stuff coming back?
We'll have to look into that. That's not something we've been monitoring, but we can.
If you're there, just because
Yeah.
I'm just curious what the macro is doing in there. Or if
We
it's
do have a
just-
team out there every week,
Yeah.
getting the data off of the device and checking the oysters, and we can certainly look into that. But by and large, cost benefits, of course. So the benefit is the oysters are still doing well, and there's no blue-green algae, so no worries about people. As far as swimming, it's probably a much better system to swim in. There have been people who say, "Oh, there's not enough water in there."
Correct.
For,
Water level.
Yeah. So always a balance.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a few of those emails.
Yeah. I'm sure.
They're good.
Yeah.
Mecox?
Yeah. So we can move on to Mecox Bay. So Mecox is doing fairly well. The cut had been open for an extended period of time. Closed. Did it close in July? I think it was.
End of June, I think.
June. We're learning. Through the support of a CPF proposal that I wrote in 2024, we're doing a comprehensive study, and we're learning a lot as we go. One of the big focus, and we already knew a lot, but we're learning even more now. The big focus of that study so far have been really trying to laser focus on the bacteria issue, right? There've been the claims or the statements that it's one of the most polluted bays in the whole country, and the enterococcus levels are through the roof. So we've been looking at that very carefully. What's interesting is, and our data is showing that the levels are not that bad, right? There are some hot spots in Mecox Bay, but what we're finding, specifically speaking to enterococcus, which is the standard the state uses for swimming, there's high levels up in Mill Creek, there's high levels up in Hayground Cove, but as you move to the south, the levels in general haven't been that bad, and generally below the swimming standard. So, and with the cut closed, that's pretty good news. We're also learning two other things so that's just the state of things. We've done some analysis of the bacteria, and it's all that. I won't go into the specifics, but the data together is painting the story that a lot of those bacteria are coming in and maybe we could have guessed this, but maybe not. It's showing that surface runoff is injecting the bacteria into the system. So runoff from the roads. It's an alternative hypothesis is that maybe just the birds. The bird populations, and in some systems we do see that. I've studied systems that.
But you saw it was mammalian, right?
Say that once
You
more.
said it was mammalian mostly, is what you were.
Dogs and small mammal is the source, but generally when we see that, that's a sign of road runoff, right? Because you get, or at least communication of water from the watershed into the surface of the watershed into the water body, right? If you saw human bacteria, then it would be septic systems. It's definitely not that. If you saw birds, it would be the population, existing there. And we see that in some systems that are highly pristine, but in this one, it seems very clear it's coming off of the roads. And to back that up, we're in a drought right now. I just actually looked at the rainfall data. I was pretty surprised. since July 13th, there's been one substantial rainfall event, and it was only half an inch. And I think it was like August 1st. But outside of that, there's been no rain. And if you look at the 10-day forecast, it doesn't look like it's going to help us any.
So between the cut being open and the drought has been very beneficial, but for
Exactly.
bacteria loading of the bay. Yeah.
Correct. And so, as I give the narrative, like, oh, there's just 2 hotspots for bacteria and the lower pond looks pretty good. That's the data, but it may be partly informed by the fact that, the cut was open for a while, and 2, there hasn't been these big rainfall events.
Different
And in
variables.
fact, we did even see that in July, when we had a couple of heavy rainfall events, that you did see a spike up. So that's just further evidence that it's that road runoff. And that's in some ways good news, because that's an issue that can be addressed. I approached the highway superintendent last winter to talk about starting to mitigate some of the end of road runoffs from Mecox. If you look at Mecox, there's a lot of roads. I think about Mohawk Avenue,
Bay Lane,
Bay
Horse
Lane,
Mill.
All a flying point.
The whole bulk,
Flying
yeah.
Point, and there's several others where the roads just dead end right to the bay, right? And from a user perspective, well, that's great. You can go down there and launch a boat, but that's not how we should be plumbing coastal waters,
Right.
and specifically a closed system. So in the winter, I had spoken to Charles McCardle about that, and he had put in a couple of requests to address some of those road ends, and I think that's going to be needed going forward. I think just to sort of pick those off one at a time. And Chip, you had mentioned that maybe going forward there may be a big project for Flying Point.
Yeah, I'd love to see something done similar to what we see at Huntington. That rain, that something, and also the PRBs.
Yes.
Like if we could punch holes in there and see if that would be just build it all into the project.
Because I think that's a really big opportunity. We did we measure multiple types of bacteria. For Enterococcus, the hotspots seem to be, like I said, up at Hayground Cove and Mill Creek, which makes sense. For fecal coliform, which is a slightly different group, includes some Enterococcus. We do see it at the end of Flying Point actually ends up being a hotspot.
Mhm.
So, which only makes sense.
But you also have Channel Pond. I mean, you have some
That's true.
variables there.
That's true. So,
Well, the highway superintendent and his administration, I think, have done a very good job townwide trying to address these issues
Yeah.
of road runoff, and
Yeah.
we've worked with them on several projects as well. So I'd say that there's proactive behavior going on to try and change that plumbing, as you would say.
Yeah.
I think this is where CPF funding really could make a big difference,
Yep.
especially in the project at Flying Point, because you're looking at 1,000 feet plus a bulkhead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this trustee board would be amendable to losing some bottom land to make it gain wetland.
yeah, and you might not even need to, honestly. If
Yeah.
it's done right, I don't think you necessarily would even need
Well,
to.
because we have user groups of parking, so
Sure.
we kind of have to
Yeah.
decide as a
But
highway department and a
I
trustees.
think we work with some good engineering companies that have been able to design things
Yeah.
that take into consideration the variables, public safety, to really get good projects. I mean, we're working at Agawam, we're working in Flanders, we're
Yeah.
working. So there's a lot going on throughout this township, and I think if we keep moving in these directions, you're going to see, I think, these results that perhaps are more promising.
Yeah. So, I mean, the next CPF, I think, can't remember if it's March 15th, February 15th. I think it's March, but I'd be happy to work with you all
You should.
toward that. The other thing, just to mention about Mecox, there was an opportunity, a New York State grant opportunity. I worked with Scott to submit a grant proposal to the state on behalf of the trustees to do a study specifically of the possibility of, at the cut, instead of having the cut that's open and closed, having a permanent exchange system that could be installed there. So it's just a study.
Anyway, we could do a permanent exchange system at a different location. Like I was thinking like Sam's Creek and Channel Pond and then leave the cut as being able to open. So that way you have more of a vortex. So,
Potentially. I mean,
Yeah.
here's the thing. The proposal's in, and let's see where it goes. The proposal really is just to hire this consulting firm that had Dewberry, who had done the same exact study for Shinnecock Bay.
Western Shinnecock Bay.
Yeah.
I'm very
So it's
familiar
really
with
to
it.
take that
Yeah.
same study, and now there it didn't look like it was going to be very effective. But the same study now for Mecox, just to, and the beauty of it is just to see what would the effect be and what would the cost be, right? And then it's just a study. Let's just see what they find, and there could within, I think, built into the study that there can be these different alternatives to look at as well.
Just at different locations, because
Yes.
I mean,
Well, that's the
because
purpose.
I've told you like Sam's Creek was the original cut.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was there was two Seapooses in Mecox back in
Western.
colonial times.
Yes.
So
Well, that could, I mean, that could
Yeah.
be good because then that could give the option of continuing
That-
it. If you wanted to have the cut,
Right.
then you
Yeah.
could do that.
And that's all part of this process, and that's why you have to study it.
Exactly.
So that's where we got to start somewhere,
Yeah.
and then you keep boiling it down.
So I'm hopeful that this is through the state and through the DEC, so we should hear.
But one thing with an actual full-on inlet and the migration of the fish like elwais and bunkers and other fish that come and go out of Mecox
Yeah.
Bay, you're kind of really basically taking them out of the mix. And I think having
well, you still
natural-
can use the cut. I think it's like
Yeah.
Scott said at the meeting. Is like we don't know how much we're going to need to open the cut if we have an alternative system.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be open for
I like
migratory
that actually
yeah.
better than putting it where the cut is. That's a good idea. Because
I mean,
then
that's
you
where
could, you could have both, right? Because
I think you need both.
You could build the salinities up in the two creeks. You could fight off the blue-green algae blooms,
Yeah.
which are starting to happen in those,
yes,
and you can create flow.
yes,
You can
Yeah.
create flow dynamics, whereas instead of being locked into just that one area of the bay.
And this is all important stakeholder information
yeah.
that's needed
Right,
to have
yeah.
a
So I think-
successful study.
Yeah. So
Right.
step one is looking to get
So
the
you
study
can do
done,
it.
and then when it's done, I think that makes perfect sense. The steps would be then to meet with the engineering firm and tell
Laid
them.
out.
Yeah, exactly.
One question, and it was brought to light to me. I never spoke to you about it. I really don't want to see any transfer of oysters from outside Mecox Bay into Mecox Bay for any of your studies.
Yeah, we're not doing that. So,
No, I did. But if it comes to light that you want, because I know you're doing kind of like the testing and SAG of like seeing what blue-green algae intake.
Sure. Yeah.
So if you're going to do that study in Mecox, I just ask that you utilize Mecox oysters for that
Yeah.
study and not. I don't want to expose genetics of bad dermo and MSX to Mecox. It's
Yeah.
a closed system.
yeah.
Let's
That
keep
makes-
it closed.
That makes sense. I will say, and on that, I'm glad that you pointed that out because I know that I'm going to forget the name. I want to say Peter Stein, but that might not be the right name. Somebody who does oyster work had approached the Mecox Bay Conservancy saying, "Oh, I can help with oysters in Mecox Bay." So
No, I don't want any relay of
I'll
oysters.
I'll
Point
send
that
them
out
to
to
you.
him.
I'll
Yeah.
send them
Which
to
is why we work so closely with Mecox Conservancy,
you.
so that
Yeah. And they're probably
And that was told to me by Greg Rivera when I first started
Right.
oyster farming, and he told me early on, do not put your farm-raised oysters in Mecox.
yeah.
It's too much of a risk.
we don't want to take a risk with
Yeah.
Mecox.
Good point.
We did file for the relay permit of oysters to western Shinnecock.
Sure.
We never got around to linking it to SAG.
Yeah.
I don't know where you wanted to go on that. We may be able to add it to the permit because we can't do it till October.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think
I
that
don't
would be
know.
interesting.
If
Right,
it's,
just to see, because as of right now,
I'd love to
there's
see a
not-
natural set take in there.
Yeah, and there's not many now. Essentially, our data is now showing that they can survive and do well there. So that could be a good next step. So if you're able to add that, then
Yeah, if we put 50, 60 bushel in there and see
Yeah.
what it does.
we can.
And Mecox are very their oysters
Very
Mecox oysters
similar.
are very tolerable to very low salinity for
Yeah.
long periods of time. So if you had a change in salinity in SAG,
Yeah,
they might be a month or so before they would die if something happened like that. So it gives you a lot.
and we can work with you guys to get that done for sure.
Anything else you need on our end?
No,
I mean,
think-
that would, I'd love to see more of the data because you said it was fresh off the press. Like that
Yes.
genetic, that's going to really start to answer some questions.
Yeah. I mean, the story made so just so we're all talking the same. That's about the bacteria and the source of the bacteria
Yeah.
to mecox. And so, yeah, we're going to continue to do that. But essentially what we did is we did a whole system survey in June. I think it was June, July, and
That was
August.
June's data that you showed at the top.
I think it was June. It was an average of June, July, and possibly August, or it was 3 months. So it was. I don't think the story is going to change dramatically.
Uh-huh.
So I think the story is going to become addressing that runoff, addressing
But
the bacterial.
We're gonna I mean, if we're in this much of a drought, there's a good possibility October could bring torrential rains.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Although remember, last year we had 4 inches of rain on August 19th, and it almost literally didn't rain again until November. So like these extended droughts through the fall.
We did have the one rainfall in October, about 17 inches, and that literally killed everything in
That wiped out all the steamers.
Yeah, and everything. That was when we did the transplant of
That was a
oysters.
long time ago.
That was when we did a transplant from Oyster Pond in Montauk, putting oysters in mecox.
But we've seen hot patches of that
Yeah.
over the years as
Yeah,
baymen working that bay, and it's always the determination of the Cobb Isle set of steamers is usually based on rainfall events in the fall.
Yeah.
Because that was another really good flat that's off of Cobb Isle.
Yes.
And if we have torrential rains in the fall and that cut isn't open, we lose that whole flat. But now it's become an oyster flat.
Yes.
So dynamics.
Anyway, those are the main topics I wanted to cover.
I
Thank
want
you.
to say thank you. There's been a terrific collaboration,
Yeah. 100%.
board and the stakeholders, and I think we've been really making some good progress on some really tough issues. And I think if we just keep the pressure on and keep this momentum going, I think future generations are going to see benefits from this activity and persistence, right?
And you and Jay pushing on the upland. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I mean, we've had some good meetings right up to the federal level.
Yeah.
With people, to get them to understand what it is that we are up against here. And any help, that they could provide to us would be appreciated
Yeah.
and beneficial
Yeah.
to everybody. Thank you for that.
Okay. And,
Thank you, Chris.
if I can ever be of help, please reach out.
Looking forward to reviewing your newest proposal,
Okay.
new study.
Very good.
Thank you
for
Sorry,
that.
one quick question. Any surveys you've done in Shinnecock, have you seen any juvenile scallops from this year's set?
No, but that's because usually our bay-wide surveys are usually in the fall.
Okay.
We'll,
All right.
We'll let you know.
Yeah. Very
I
curious.
hope so. I hope so.
Yes.
Thank you, Doc. Okay. Let's move right into the general permit applications for determination. I have Barracuda Road, East Quogue Shoreline bulkheading. I think we,
He's not coming in today. It is a modification to add a 20-foot return to their existing permit
that's what you
replacement.
and I were reviewing that before.
James, had you got a chance to look at the proposal that is presented here? The addition of the 20-foot landward return?
Yeah, it's shown right here on the plans. This section right here.
It's just basically taking that pier that they put out there, or breakwater, and making it a solid breakwater, correct?
It's coming back for another 20 feet more than
Yeah.
they're already wanting to come back, so it's diving, back
Past
landward
the high
into,
water.
yeah, well up and in to shore it up so that if you do get a big storm surge or event, it's a lot further up than to creating a big scour out behind the current return.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't see any negative impacts.
Well, I mean, the current return looks like it goes somewheres seaward of the high water mark. So putting it's really not a functional return unless you extend it out.
Right. Here's a picture that will better illustrate what you
Yes.
just said, right? So you'd be coming up this way.
Yes.
So
Right.
can we extend it to return 10 foot beyond the high water mark?
Well, it's connected to a structure that we are permitting, so it's part of the integral engineering structure, so.
It looks like the current plans have it, that if it goes 10 feet, it's gonna go to the mean high water mark. If it goes 20 feet, it'll be an actual return where it goes back into a dry land
It's
mass.
going back into the grade.
Yeah. That's important.
So I think that, even though she's not here, when you look at the engineering of this, and you see what it is that they're trying to do, I think it makes common sense for what
Yeah.
they're trying to do with this structure, instead of having some transition that, will prove itself to be problematic. So I don't have a problem with this, even though she's not here, just by looking at the engineering side of it and the request.
But you still gotta alter the engineer plans, right?
And I think they've been done.
They have, let me just see if they're stamped. Yes, they are
They're
stamped.
stamped, so they have done all that they need to do.
This section here, bring it back up here. This is the proposed return, bulkhead return, this dotted hash line. So this was already permitted to reconstruct. They're adding this section here, 20 feet. And it's stamped.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Yeah, I think it's okay. Based on the engineering, even though she's not here to explain that, it's pretty
It's either
self-explanatory.
that, in 2 years when it roads out, they're gonna come back for an extension, so.
I think they need to do it while
Do it now.
ahead of schedule.
And the beach to the north and west of it is pretty much a nice sandy beach, and it will just basically end up into the channel and need to be dredged again.
I think this can advance. As long as you're good with that. You good with that?
Yep.
Okay. Next one I have on here is, this Builders of the Hamptons for Dynamic Legal. Want to hold that one, James?
I would say so.
Okay. Then we have R&W Engineers for 46 Rampasture Owners LLC.
Bob Pusilowski and
Lauren
Lauren.
Kostler.
If you remember right, we met with you back in May. At that time, we knew our proposal was not up to par, and we drew guidance from the board, and I also spoke to James Dorier, the town environmentalist. He gave us some good guidance how to update the drawings to ensure we meet with town of Southampton's requirements. If you remember, our previous drawings had some references to pressure treated, which I knew was not acceptable, and that's been all removed, and Green Heart or similar has been referenced for all lumber and piles. We did not indicate a 10-foot barrier at that time. That has been added. We've chosen to go with a sand barrier. We considered the different seagrasses and natural barriers that would have been allowed, but we were concerned with tick infestation. So we chose to go with just a natural sand barrier, 10-foot barrier.
Okay, go ahead.
Another issue was our piles were larger than 8 inches. That's all been changed. Our largest pile now is 8 inches. We previously had 12-inch tapered to 8 inches. So our piles have all been reduced to 8 inches. I know there was a question as far as what the elevation of the new bulkheading was going to be. The elevation is at 6.5. Presently, the elevation is at 5.5. So we're going about approximately a foot higher, and that will meet our neighbors, which are both about 6.5 elevation. So we'll have one consistent height of all bulkheading. And I believe that was all the changes that we had made.
So the only thing is that it all sounds well and good, but you got a lot of grass there, right?
Right now, there is grass right up to the.
So that's the concern. That's I think still going to be a concern of the board for a portion of this, all of that green grass. Even though you're choosing to go with sand, I'm not sure.
All that grass will be removed, and it would be replaced with just sand.
Yeah, it's just what happens is that the Kentucky blue will migrate over the sand over time. So the reason that we like to have the beach grass planted there is that usually that will prohibit the migration of Kentucky blue or whatever you get from Home Depot or whatever you're throwing down. So we would like to see a portion of it with the beach grass. We're not saying the whole part, especially where you have a lot of back and forth of people walking to and from the dock and kids playing but
You can make paths through it.
yeah,
You know,
a
10-foot
portion of
paths
it,
or
yeah.
20-foot area specifically to get to your dock and the beach. I mean, we're not asking for the whole entire stretch to be,
I
sanded.
think you need to take a look at it and perhaps see if there's some compromise that you can put together a planting plan to show, all right, look, we need this area will be buffered with sand, and this area, we get it. We're going to use some native vegetation to try and buffer some of the runoff that's going to come off. And
I mean, looking at the pictures, I would say just off the top of my head that 10 foot either side of the center line of the dock, not without grass, would be acceptable. And then on either side of
So
that,
if we had some type of walkway going
Yes.
up to the.
Yeah.
Access
and then
point, yeah.
yeah,
on each side of
Or
that.
take-
Because those grasses that we're asking for intermixed behind the bulkhead are the last line of resort to get any nutrients that you put on the uplands when you get a heavy rain. So we're looking for that little bit of buffer that, to make sure that it gets absorbed before it ends
Right.
up in the bay and it causes.
Understood.
The other side of it is that you're asking for and people in that area have taken a foot increase in elevation. There was a rationale for that, correct? The rationale for the increase,
Our neighbors.
yourself and the neighbors.
your neighbors are a
We're
foot
gonna be
already.
where our neighbors
Right.
are now.
But they obviously had some overtopping at some point in time, perhaps.
That I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, our neighbor, the one neighbor just has the beach sand. There's no
Mm-hmm.
grass installations on either side.
Right, which doesn't necessarily mean they're in compliance with anything. It's like,
No.
and I think,
One is a much older installation.
right.
That's higher, and on the other side, his is just a few years old.
See, the thing is, like all the discussion, like you heard as you're sitting here listening to, the prior discussions about how, the plumbing from the runoff from the upland is running straight to the bay. So it's like, we're trying to work with the stakeholders like yourself to come up with ways where you are having a successful project, and at the same time, we're being mindful of trying to limit that sort of activity. And when you see green grass like that has the ability. So we're not saying, you got to go the whole way, because part of it should be sand and is compliant. It's just that, you want to have that give and take to say, yeah, let's take some pressure off. It's a benefit for you and all of your folks as well. You know what I mean? So we all have skin in that game. So I would say that you've done well with what we've requested. And if you need, instead of just coming up with it now, if you want to take a week or so to take a look at the plan and come up with a determination of something that you think would be a good fit.
And we just ask that within the plan that you have the plant spacing and the species.
Okay.
So if it's what is it?
Cape American beach grass.
Cape American beach grass is traditionally 12-inch on center. So if that's on your plan,
What's one good thing about the beach grass along the bulkhead? It deters some of the geese from flying up on the lawn.
Yeah, we
That's
do
a
have
very
that.
good
point.
selling point.
It will.
and it also, if you do have topping, it's going to hold all that structure
The
together.
root system.
That's what I was getting at with the
Like
rig.
you're gonna end up losing sand if we get a good
Right.
blow.
That's what I
So
was getting at.
It's
Tolerate salt spray too.
It'll look nice
Yeah.
too.
The rationale, when people are taking an increase, is that they've had overtopping at some point in time, and the sand just gets pulled away and disappears pretty quickly, and then the equalization of pressures between the bulkhead landward side and seaward side then perhaps creates a weakness that is potential for collapse in a severe storm. But in cases where you do have the deep-rooted native vegetation, it does hold that land structure together better, and you could fare that storm a lot better. So there are long-term benefits to the landowner applicant for, designing something that's going to take that surge a lot better. So you're going to want to look at it. And again, we're not looking to take, and say all. We're looking for a balance here that makes sense.
How high does that grass grow?
how
3
high?
feet? Is it
No.
about, that's all it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, we're in a community.
No, we get that.
Their
Yeah.
community had concerns with tick infestation.
They do, and then
Variations
yeah.
of
Yeah.
grasses. And it's, you know, some of the ornamental grasses grow 5 and 6 feet high. Some of it grows, you know, maybe a foot or 18 inches.
That's why
So
we're saying.
Do a little bit of research.
It's like your dune grass. It's the
Yeah.
same. It's the same.
Now, when you say 12 inches on center, is that one row or is it multiple
It would
rows
be
every
it would be
12
within the
inches?
10-foot buffer.
Okay. But, okay, so.
That's how you plant them.
That's how you
so
plan. It's a
would it
grid.
be- Have like 9 rows of 12 inches on center?
Yeah.
Thereabout.
They're single grass plugs and you just stick them in.
Okay.
You want them to, you
And
want
you
them.
just need that on the plan with the and a description of it. So that way, when a dock inspector comes, it'd be like,
whoever's-
and also if it's altered down the road when somebody comes in for an adjustment, we can be like, "Where's your beach grass? It's on your plan."
Forceability.
You know, if you do it right, it really looks great. And there's a tremendous benefit, especially since you are an association. Because you know what, you have a big storm, people end up with something called an assessment, when they got to rebuild everything that got destroyed in the storm. So if you
You're now to head that off.
Yeah.
well, if you engineer something that's, you know, got a better shot at sustaining that, we've seen this firsthand. I mean, I've been sitting in this seat for 12 years. I've seen this stuff firsthand, so and beyond. All right, so you're almost there.
We're almost there?
Yeah.
Okay.
There.
Thank you.
You're almost there. Little common sense, and it'll be fine.
You can contact a local consultant or landscaper and they can give you a whole
So
list.
we'll get this changed and
Yep.
we'll make a resubmission.
That'd be great.
See
Yeah, just
we'll
take a
see
look
you in
at
a
it.
month or two.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, but once they get the grass and everything set, can they then go for the stamp plans so they can get, you
Well, the
know?
plans are stamped.
Yeah,
Oh,
Sam,
okay.
you just
All
have
right,
to-
finalizing this?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're well on your way here.
Okay,
Yeah, you're well
Very
on your
good.
way. You just
thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
First Coastal, Sunset Equity Holdings LLC, 32 Sunset Avenue. I see Billy Mack.
Hello, everybody. Billy Mack, First Coastal.
How are you?
This is 32 Sunset. I believe this is a modification to a. Is that right, Jim?
Yeah, it looks like you're adding the upland
Yeah. So this
elevated
is,
walkway to the permit, which is 4 by 213 foot.
right. We got a dock permit from you guys. Thank you very much. And the proposed activity would be to connect the dry upland to the dock with a walkway of 213 feet.
There you go.
And that would be through flow, all compliant, non-treated.
What's it going over?
It's basically salt marsh. There's Martina in there, Peyton's.
If you have everybody else's permit, or we, you do. Send it over to James for the records. You have it, James?
I don't think so.
Oh, I will send.
Army Corps maybe.
What do you got?
Army Corps.
So you're shifting it over where it's gonna be more,
The dock is remaining the same.
yeah.
There was, since it's a sensitive area, we figure, and the path does not lead to that dock that's existing. We thought the
It's
best
to the
thing.
boat slip.
Yeah, leads to the boat slip. This property was subdivided.
Is that on there? The subdivision?
Yeah, that property line is shown now. It's now.
Do you have any covenants on here from the town's environment division on this property? Is there anything listed, James? An advisory?
I don't think we got an advisory for this one.
Do we need an advisory because it's connected to the dock?
I mean, we are intending to connect it, so therefore it'd be your.
It's our.
Yeah, but it usually would ask for an advisory if there's a covenant on there where the conservation board has some kind of, you know,
Do we need to
regulations.
FOIL for a covenant?
It would be,
Billy would have-
No.
We can request an advisory letter and
Yeah,
see what they say.
and then, yeah, that's all you need to do. That would streamline him. That way he could do that, and if they have a concern, we could just.
what
address
is
their
the, what is the
concerns, so that's
elevation of this
what you should
proposed
do.
structure? Is it 4.5 feet?
No, it's 2 feet. 2 feet above grade.
Oh, it's not the normal Army Corps where it's
Yeah,
So-
not a tower.
something
It
that
says
we would.
we would approve.
say 4 feet?
So reconstruct an in-place approximately 152 of existing bulkhead, and that's the cutout for the boat slip?
On the adjacent property, correct.
And you've done this in 2 different properties?
Two different, yes.
So you have this already broken up?
Mm-hmm.
So we
And
don't
we
get
did-
into a legal issue? Was this subdivided as you were applying for the permit or prior?
Prior.
Okay, so you already had an established multiple lots
That's right.
at separate applications?
Yeah, and I believe we already have a permit for the dock separately for
Separately.
you
No, I
guys.
understand that. I'm just seeing that boat cutout in the property line.
Yeah,
It's like a half and half deal.
that's right.
Well, the
Exactly.
bulkhead reconstruction is part of this.
Yeah, I'm just making
On
sure that it's done with 2 different lots. Because we've run, I mean, Joe Lombardo's always recommended that it's not the same application. It's gotta be a separate application.
separate.
It's 2 different lots, so you have 2 different applications.
Two different lots now, though.
Yeah, he said it's been
Yeah, so if you
subdivided.
look at the survey.
So you need a
When the
separate.
original permit was issued, was it issued to 1 lot before it was subdivided?
That's right.
And that's how it's being proposed now as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, is that technically now.
So you need an advisory?
Because this,
Owner, or is
What
it
we're
different
doing.
ownership names?
right now.
Yeah, but either way, we've always said that a lot has to be a
2
separate
different
application.
lots.
Yeah.
Permit was issued on 1 lot, they subdivided it.
Right.
And they haven't done the work yet, so.
Regardless of the owner, whether it's a different LLC or not, it's gotta be a 2 separate applications.
I believe that's what we have in front of you. So we have and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we have the dock permit for this LLC, which is Sunset Equities. So,
Well, you have the dock and half of the boat slip, according to this lot line that you have on there. Or one
It says
leg of the,
proposed. It says future subdivision, that doesn't
So
say.
the one, that shows both properties together. This is the plan that we're proposing and it was approved for the dock. So
okay, so what's,
Chip, here's
has this
here's
one
the
been done then?
subdivided map.
So this is just a reference.
Has that been done?
This boat, nothing, no work has been done yet.
But it's proposed.
It's proposed. But
But
this,
half of it is on one piece of property and half.
No, Chip,
here, this is the one
that's
too.
that's the subdivided map. It's solely on 1 property.
And this is the actual site plan application. This is a reference because it's just showing the adjacent property prior to the subdivision. So this part right here,
So this red part where.
I see the subdivision map here.
yeah, so that's the actual
This is-
application site plan. This is just a,
Okay.
Yeah, here's your subdivision.
Here's the subdivision map.
yeah, this is confusing you because it is prior to the subdivision.
All right.
Just yours or mine?
That's fine.
If it's been subdivided, 2 tax map numbers, 2 permits.
Two separate permits.
Okay.
So we only have one here, right?
So, yeah, we're only dealing with this one.
So you just have to amend the permit for the other piece of property for the shorter bulkhead.
Advisory.
And get the advisory. Well, the bulkhead is not on this property with the dock.
It's on the
It's on
other
the,
part,
yeah, technically,
Yeah, it's on the subdivided.
parcel.
but it's not according, oh,
Section on.
Yeah.
so this the section of it is on it. That's what I'm getting at, is you have,
Plus, your,
Oh, that
your
one on the
application
corner.
also says.
Yeah, the return is on the other property.
See that?
I'm confused.
Yeah, it's got on here, it's 152, so I think,
Right here.
I think
Chip.
this is very
that's what I was
confusing.
saying, yeah.
This- This has got to go on
So we'll
hold.
separate that.
Yeah, you need to put this
Okay,
on hold,
understood.
get the advisory.
You gotta get the yeah, definitely the advisory
Right.
is
You also
paramount.
need a copy of the approval for the subdivision, because I don't see that.
Get you that too.
Approval of the subdivision,
All your plans that you,
and you have to make sure that
says
boat
future
slip,
subdivision.
in total, the whole U of that boat slip is on one piece of property. If not,
No,
when
we
you
gotta
apply for that, then you're gonna need 2 different applications for that change.
Right. And maybe what we do is modify this to show the portion of the bulkhead on this property that's going to be the return, essentially.
Yeah,
It's going to be
Yeah, this
rebuilt
little
at the
piece
same
right
time.
here,
that one wedge, yeah.
Totally
which
get
is the
that.
subdivision.
You got a little more work to do on this,
Understood.
paperwork wise. This is ours.
This is yours.
This is ours. What else do you have with us?
I got 2 more.
That's whole, James,
You
obviously.
want to do these now or want me to wait?
No, no, why don't you do them now? You're here.
The other one is 65 Cliff, Noyak. This property we know as the low sill bulkhead. That
Sounds
was.
familiar.
65 Cliff.
This is a dredging part to get this.
Dredging and upland grasses.
Yes.
Okay.
Upland grasses have been done, but they're going to be improved after the dredging.
Close to dredging.
So the dredging is
The length of the bulkhead.
Length of the bulkhead.
Minus 5 foot.
I think it's to minus 3 feet. And we have the DEC permit that's attached to it. This-
You have a spoil site location?
It's going to be trucked out.
How far out from the bulkhead are you going to be dredging?
It's a low sill, so we're a specific distance off. And
15 feet.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, that would be the historic channel that was there.
Right, we're trying to reestablish that.
Are you applying for the planting as well at the same time as the dredging application?
It's part of the permit, yes.
I just want to make sure that that what is ever there has finally taken root with that piece of property.
Yeah.
So if you could not disturb that in the planting
Mhm.
and interplant, it'd be paramount because it's been a rough road to try and make anything hold there.
Totally.
If you
get
could
that.
throw some high tide bushes in, anything to stabilize that
Yeah.
cliff going into Doug Canal.
Ground zone backwards,
Yeah.
makes
Now, the
sense.
dredging project that you're going to be doing on 65,
Mhm.
south of it and north of it, is there a sandbar that's going to be left there? So basically, you're going to have a little bit of waterway in front of the bulkhead where it's dredged to 3 feet. South of it, there's still a flat, correct?
Yeah.
So basically, you're going to have like a little swimming pool in front of this house.
Yeah, what we do have is the DEC permit allows for the dredging of the entire channel. So right now, we're focusing on this.
Okay, yeah,
And then we're gonna
the bigger
talk to,
project.
the
Yeah.
property owner adjacent to get him on board so we can kind of patchwork this in with you guys.
Yep.
But once we get this, the other neighbors are gonna say, okay, I get it. You guys are actually gonna get a permit, so they'll jump on board.
Yeah, that's what I want to make sure, because if you just do one project, you're not getting the holistic approach there where you need the whole
And economically, for them, it makes sense
Yes.
to them do it all together.
100%.
How long
And
have you been working on
environmental.
this?
Pardon me?
How long have we been working on this?
Gosh, it's like 4 years, maybe more.
I think longer, actually.
Feels like,
20.
yeah.
Started
It'd be
around
nice
20.
to see
It feels like before COVID.
It'd be nice
That's
to see
it,
some
maybe.
sand move there out of the
Yes.
way.
Yeah, so I mean, this is obviously a beneficial project for everybody, but it's unfortunately piecemealed a little bit because the individual properties have to go for the trustees permit. We did get a group permit for the DEC.
I think we signed off on that.
We did, yeah.
And the two variances against the property on the DEC, have they been addressed?
Yes, yeah, there were two notices that they did resolve individually before we brought them on.
Okay.
I think it had to do with the vegetation.
Vegetation, very important too.
Underrated here, especially with this low sill.
Yes.
Gotta be established.
Your vegetation, you got to really pay attention to that. People like to discount that.
A lot of the meadow grass in Sag Harbor Cove has disappeared over the last 20 years. The whole area there, a lot of the spartina is gone.
Really?
Yep.
Can I suggest putting the original buffer onto the drawings? If this is a modification for the original permit, you want to make sure that the vegetation buffer that was originally on it should be on this.
It has to be, right?
Yeah,
It should be, but I mean, we've included the,
the language.
let's see, yeah, it shows it right here, area proposed dredging and,
If you could throw in a little bit more detailed site photos so that we can make sure that
that's limited, you're right. I'll have Andrew
you had
update
some
that.
site photos and that way we can say, look, this is the patch that really needs some more work on the planting.
I just don't want the planting plan to be lost.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
after this new-
Yeah, I'll include the detail on
Then
that. so
throw
it's
some
part
high
of
tide
yours.
bushes, anything to stabilize that thing. It's unfortunate that it's shrunk in size.
Okay, we'll do more work on that, thank you. And then this other one I have, is 21 Shrubland. This is for discussion. This,
Stick dock.
yeah,
Any changes to the buffer, or is it gonna remain as is?
yeah, I'm not in love with this plan, to tell you guys the truth. But we are 15 feet off the property line to be in line with the 4-foot path that exists on this site.
Where are we? Turtle Cove?
Cold Spring.
Cold Spring. You have the 100 feet from mean low water.
Yeah. So that's
The regulations are supposed to be
100 feet
100
from
feet from mean high water. And if you
Yes.
can't make appreciable water depth, bring it back to 25 feet.
25 feet, right.
So
So that's kind of where I was steering this thing. We're not center of the property, but we are 15 feet off to match this path that's there. The depth doesn't really gain us anything if we go farther north, or I guess that's west. So we like that location, but we would propose it shorter.
You wanna hold that? In.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, you wanna hold that.
We can't go longer than the pier line, so.
Yeah.
So wherever mean high water is to the outer end, and then take it from there.
So
Yeah.
that not disturbed.
this is not reflecting correct regulations. So your regulation would be 100 feet if you allow it from mean high water. This is shown from mean low water. So it's has to be shifted.
Shifted back.
And
Yeah.
then wherever it ends up, you have to determine whether it's appreciable water depth to 100 feet. Otherwise, bring it back to 25 feet from mean high water is what your regulations.
You don't love this plan either, anyway.
Well, I mean, you're gonna, basically where the end of that dock is gonna land at, once you move it, once you hitch it back, is gonna be 0.74 to 1.74.
There's no water.
25 feet, you're at, I don't know, 0.10 or something.
Right.
So it's not, so I would consider that appreciable. So if you guys like the idea of 100 foot off the low water, the high water line, that would get us back about
You might actually,
30 feet
you might get more depth
going
off
over
of-
there.
over here in the middle.
That's true.
Why don't you move it?
Was there any,
That might
is
even-
there any current paths there, or?
Oh, you see that 4-foot wide
Disturbances.
path?
What's it say in that buffer zone? What's the language of that?
Non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer.
Yeah,
But does it say anything about,
there's nothing in the cover sheet for planting.
what was that?
There's nothing on the cover sheet for.
But I mean, what I'm saying is there some,
Covenant on
yeah,
the Conservation Board?
Exactly. I don't know what, can you cut a path through there where you can get to the deeper water for, maybe
No, I
that
think that's a
project?
designated non-disturbance. We can,
Sometimes there's language in there that allows you a
Allows a
4-foot,
path.
whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
we could adjust
We need
that
to
to
look
get
at
to
that
that
because
deeper
Should we
water.
get an advisory letter from the
Well,
Conservation
I think,
Board?
Did the dock be put on an angle?
Well, now we're getting ridiculous.
yeah, no, I just think,
Because they can't change where the wetland path is, I mean,
We can change some of it. I mean, we've been.
yeah, I mean, I think that you don't love the plan to begin with, so why don't you,
Yeah, we.
James, do you?
show them where that old
GIS map
canal,
of the
I mean,
area?
that's an old like slip line dredge or something like that was in there at one time. Where the deeper water is,
On the beach.
Yeah,
closer to,
close to that middle point,
yeah,
where the 1.68 would be a lot better than.
yeah.
the-
See where they go with it.
if you really want to have a good project.
Yeah,
What if they want
Okay.
to T? Went out and
I
across.
can't, see,
Can't rotate.
No, I think shifting it up.
no floating dock, it's not water.
And then getting it to at least that depth, the 1.68. That's a lot shorter than 100 feet.
It's a lot shorter than 100 feet, and there's also, if you look, there's a deep water going out from there too.
It's a better project.
I think so too. And we don't need to move the 4-foot path. We could just do that along the shoreline.
Why don't you go back, then maybe you can come back here and say that you love it.
Yes. Good.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you for your time on that.
That's all you have, right?
That's all I got.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, so let's go to Smith Creek Land Use, first modification for 124 Springville.
Hi,
Hello,
Kelly.
how are you?
doing?
So, we were before you last year for the North Marina at this site to make some modifications to the finger piers and slips. You granted a permit, and then they constructed something slightly different. I guess the question was, the permit language differed from the plan that was submitted and reviewed. So what they built was closer to the plan that was submitted versus the language in the permit. It still differed slightly from that. So I had submitted with the
I
application.
hate when that happens.
What's that? I know. It's kind of the differences.
You gotta make
in
sure
the
that
table.
doesn't happen.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
Yeah, it honestly, yeah, I don't know.
You have the short, what's the short answer of the
The
difference?
short
between the
answer
two?
is we're coming in to modify.
No, I know that, but what's
for
the,
what was built?
what was built, I mean, is it a drastic difference? What are we?
No, it's not actually.
not.
So it's
Subject to interpretation.
Yeah.
So essentially, the number of slips really didn't change. It was the length of the main float, the length of some of the finger piers, and then the platforms and ramps down to get to that main float. That's what changed very slightly. So the this is where it gets confusing. So the plan that was submitted had, for example, a total square footage for the float docks of 1948. The permit language was 1803. They built 1866. So it's
a moot point.
Exactly, and it's this kind of similar. The deck, the area is the same. The ramps were a little bit longer than what was on the plan. And
That just became a safety issue because you wanted to make sure that the grade is better and
Better grade.
Exactly.
Okay,
And
that's
then,
common sense. We're doing good.
right.
Yeah.
And then the piles on the permit said 25, on the plan said 29, they put in 27. So nothing that's, it's all minor stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we just want to get it so that everything
Just
matches.
yeah.
And
The big concern is,
So whatever numbers you just filed out to us, can you just put that in the language?
Yeah, so what I did on the new application was to just give the difference in square footage from what was on the permit. And then I included the table if you guys wanted to refer to it, but it was just the difference in square foot for the finger piers, for the ramps, and the two piles.
I think that's great.
So
Yeah.
what we have is an application before us what is currently there.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
is it
No more
as-built then?
changes.
James.
Did you pay an as-built fee?
No. They had a permit to do the work and,
We don't need an as-built.
no, they had a permit to do the
They're
work.
No, I
right
don't think
there.
it is.
It's right.
Yeah, because they had a permit for this project before starting the work.
Yeah.
Correct, yes.
Right, it's just an
Yeah.
adjustment of what
Yeah,
is.
I mean, when you're
actually
talking on
built.
something on this scope, and if you're off, but your square footage is off by,
So, but my
The
concern,
dimensional fees of the additional square feet for.
that's goes without saying, yeah, I mean,
Right,
yeah, if there's additional, then but I don't know about the as-built.
No.
I mean,
because
the
it's-
concern is, if we say to somebody, look, you can build this, go out this far on our bay bottom, and you decide to do this, whoa, wait, no.
Right.
You rented one room, not the
and
whole
if the
floor,
finger piers are relatively the same length as what you put in the plan, that's the only one that's kind of the concern.
Yes, no, they are. So like on and again, this is where there was, I think, the confusion between the plan and then the permit. Yeah, so they did not, it was supposed to be on the permit, it said 120 by 2 finger pier. They didn't put a 20-foot in. Instead, they put 6 25-foot in instead of 120 and 5 25s. The permit had 2 30 by 3 finger piers. They put in 130 and 135 by 3 finger piers. And then it also had 140 by 3 finger pier. That's what they put in that one. So there nothing that went out
nothing drastic.
significantly
Yeah.
further. Nothing,
Just cleaning it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Get it.
And also availability of what you can
Yeah.
get your hands on,
Right.
like that's,
Exactly. The times, and then you get there, and then
What we're
something's got to be
looking to do
adjusted.
is to approve a permit so that when we give it to the dock inspector, that permit that has been approved, it matches what is currently there, because otherwise, they're gonna go inspect it, they're gonna come
Well,
back to us, and we're gonna be pulling our
that's-
hair. I've already went through this a
Listen,
few projects, Scott.
That's a part of the thing, whether it's us doing an inspection or them doing an inspection. The total point is that the project represents what the board approved in a resolution, right? That's the general, right?
Right.
The rest of it is all things that are affected by this activity, whether we're inspecting it, whether they're inspecting it. We go down there and it's, hey, listen, what are we looking at here, right?
What they're asking for would be approved anyhow.
Yeah, it's fine. You're just cleaning it up.
So if you pay for the increased square footage and then it's put on the plan, so the dock inspector looks at it and is
Yep.
able to give you a P,
Yep.
then I think we're in good shape.
We're in good shape.
You're
Yep.
good.
All right,
Okay.
sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
Plans are stamped, so.
That's
Yeah.
great.
All right.
All right, so what else do you have with us? Anything?
I don't actually, so I'm just gonna put my name on here and then get out of
I
here.
think we have LK McLean. He's got some things with us.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You too.
All right, so let's just keep right on going here with the Bridgehampton project, right? Southampton Town underwater land.
Good, thank you.
So pretty basic, straightforward bridge replacement. No further encroachment. And so yeah, all the sheeting is going to be behind the existing sheeting. Traffic's going to be maintained throughout the entire duration of the project, and there's actually going to be 2 less piles installed.
What's the sheeting?
It's going to be steel sheeting.
I know it has some oysters on it.
Yeah.
So you're getting rid of the wood, the creosote wood, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah. Total removal of the timber, or is it getting hidden behind the sheeting?
No, it's in,
Getting removed.
Okay.
it's in front of the sheeting, because they're doing the sheeting behind, correct?
The sheeting is going to be landward. But They're
Landwards.
taking the timber out.
Okay,
Yeah.
so sheeting's gonna be landward of the, yeah, perfect.
So they can get rid of all the
Creosote.
out of the environment. That's a wonderful project.
Yeah, all the timber's coming out, steel's going in. Like I said, I think this the area is maybe like a one-way in type of situation, or like it's far for traffic diversion, so they're gonna keep one lane open each time and just do like a work zone traffic control.
What's the time frame?
Time frame, I'm not too sure. I can get back to you guys on that if you want.
I'm just curious.
It's not gonna.
Preferably not in the middle of summer.
Well,
Like,
Fourth of
July
July
weekend.
weekend.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, they'll I'm sure they
Preferably
can work it
November,
with
yeah.
It's in time for surf fishing.
You don't have to get back to us on that. You just have to make it a
I was
consideration.
curious.
that. Okay, yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're doing that.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I was just
That was a
curious.
tentative, yeah.
No, yeah, like we'll
Right.
keep an eye on that and make sure it's not during any type of crazy whatever.
It is, it's on you, you know?
I'm fine with the project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same here.
What's the tonnage that's gonna be allowed on that bridge? Because we do sometimes have to get machinery. Because I know that Kristen Doulos couldn't get a loader in there because there was concern of the tonnage. If you could just email us what that's gonna be rated for
Yeah,
once
for
it's
sure.
What is it
constructed.
currently now, like?
Well, I think there was
There
issues
is no
because
real-
it was failing, right? So they limited the.
But it
Right.
even like getting a 10-wheeler over there with a dozer is kind of like, I mean, our guys went for it fast.
This is a town of Southampton. This is a town of Southampton application.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
thinking
so-
it would be like H20 or something, but I could figure.
But we don't know because Kristen said they would not bring a loader down to Scott Cameron for her of the current bridge. So I'm
Gotcha.
just curious what it is. And there's also a lot of big houses that get torn down and
Yeah.
built again.
Cement
I
trucks.
can email you guys the.
Yeah.
The
It'd be
tonnage
good to
would be
know
nice
that.
just to have it on
It's
file.
not on any of your engineer plans. You don't have it somewhere in a little footnote there. This is going to be a,
Do we put something?
I would think it would be on there somewhere. Is there anywhere on the paperwork we have, James? Reconstruct a,
I handed the project description.
50-ton
over. I'm
bridge.
sure if
Yeah, I
it
don't
was-
think it was in the description as well. Either way, it's
Back to the
it's a
office, I
mute
could shoot
point.
that
I
over
mean,
to you
just
guys.
so we know what we can bring over that thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, posted anyway, right? Gotta be
Yeah,
posted.
yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing there now.
Well, yeah, because it's, they don't want anything going over.
Let's
it.
go fast. Moving load is a lot less than a
That was
static
the old,
load. Yeah.
old school Ponquag Bridge philosophy, right? Back in the day,
Trucks.
fish trucks,
Don't stop.
18-wheel fish trucks airborne off the,
Just outrun it.
Stamp plans for that.
Gotcha, too.
you can handle that, right?
Sag Harbor Village.
Just run through them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's good. We're gonna advance this one.
That's the ADOC replacement.
Just had another amendment on that one. Or change.
What's that?
Or no?
We had a presentation.
Yeah, you requested, what did we request? I forgot. We requested something.
Stamped,
Applies the application. I think you added the village of Sag Harbor.
No, that was the rowing club.
You know, we had a presentation, right?
Yeah, we had a presentation there with Charlotte. Can you fill in the
Somebody
dots?
attended, or?
What was the reason that
The
we had
village
a?
is here. Bob Bory.
Yeah, no, we had a presentation.
Maybe it was just stamped.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
we
it was
needed
just
this.
stamped then.
Yeah.
We needed this to happen. We were getting ahead of,
No, we already had like a.
Getting rid
We
of
had
the-
to double down last time, so this
Getting
is
rid
like
of
a triple
the
down here.
pulleys and the poles and putting the dock and- I think we were all good with
Yeah,
that.
that one's all beneficial. It's floating
We're
docks,
good? It's got
less
stamp
encroachment,
plans?
less square footage, so.
All good.
Yes.
Okay, maybe that was the hang up. Advance it.
Okay.
We've got the Flanders along
Yeah,
that
the last one I'm
boulevard.
sure you guys
Mhm.
are familiar with. It's just the road ending bioswale with the grass line channel and then punching into the trustees' property for the
Right.
swale. Just meant to capture the water quality volume.
It's a good project.
Yeah,
Good work for
very
me.
detailed plans.
we're fixing plumbing.
Very detailed. I love all the planting schedule in here too. There's a lot of different species and a lot of different areas. It's really well done.
Because we just had Christopher Gobler here, and there is a lot of concerns that the trustees are going to have to address as we're starting to add these these gardens at the end of the road, or water gardens or bioswales, and still maintain access to the road. Is there a possibility of having like a substantial cattle grate running to 2 rain gardens on either side of the road?
That's factored in on Long Neck, right?
Have you seen these plans?
Yeah, I
Factored
saw
in.
those
Yeah.
plans, but it's still kind of like,
Sure.
I mean, we're talking about at the end of a roadway, people want to back boats down. They still want to utilize the access, but we would love to see upland road runoff mitigation and still allow full access
Yeah.
to the ramp. So,
Well, we're doing that at Corwin, right? That's the,
There's a ramp.
There's no ramp here.
I was gonna
Still
say, I
not
don't
ramp
think there
in,
is
it's
a ramp.
just-
no, I'm saying on a side, like as far as like going forward on some of these projects.
well, we're doing that at
Would you like
Corwin.
to see the ramp?
Yeah, we'd like to, knowing that when we do road ends, we can't inhibit access to these.
Referring to drive-on access.
Yeah,
not just
drive-on
because we do have
access,
The timber
yeah,
boardwalk going
yeah.
over.
But I mean, as far as just being able to run a cattle grate and rain gardens on either side of the road could be a means by which we can still maintain access and mitigate road runoff.
Okay, I'll note that for future ones.
Well,
But this
yeah, I mean,
one's
we're
all-
working on,
Yeah.
we're working on some things together, right? Like
Yeah.
Corwin has a boat
Yeah.
ramp, right?
Long Neck was not a historic
No.
launch for anybody.
No.
The concern at Long Neck was emergency vehicle getting there.
But
Right.
the more of these road ends we start to
That's
get
right.
to, the more it's going to really start to become a public
Yeah.
access issue.
Mohawk.
Yeah,
Horse Mill
Mohawk,
and-
Horse
Right.
Mill.
I-
There's
I
a
think-
bunch of them,
yeah.
yeah.
Right, I think that's where it's site-specific in these conversations.
Yeah.
And you make a determination based on that site historical use and what is gonna be, a concern for that. Like, and we are working on some that do have boat ramps, and we're working on this one here was a public safety issue, getting something there. And each one is kind of unique, and that's why we have to work on specific engineering for that site, not just a cookie cutter
for sure.
approach. And even this one here, we had to expand into 2 different jurisdictions, 2 different property owners in order to get a successful project. So it takes a bit of finesse to be successful with it, and those are great points.
Yep.
All right, is there anything else?
Nope, this looks
No?
good.
All right, so you're free to go.
So just the stamp plans for the one, right?
This, and for this one too.
And for this one?
Yeah, I don't see a stamp on my end, but I don't know if the,
I'm sure you can handle that.
Yeah, we'll get that over to you as soon as possible, for sure.
they might have
The
just not
engineering
scanned
office.
in, so they might be in
Very
there.
possible.
You wanna look, Scott, and you're, or who's this?
We might,
It's in
I'm not
Matt's.
sure.
Yeah,
We'll
we-
use
Your
that,
plans?
but we'll-
Oh,
we'll
see
check
if
our
it's stamped.
emails.
Just check your emails. You just get it to James so that the file is complete.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all you need to do.
Just
Thank
put it
you.
all away too.
And
Now we have,
I didn't see a stamp.
E.
on it.
Lang.
It's received. Yeah.
830B
all right,
Road.
don't worry about it. He's gonna send some.
No stamp in there?
Morning.
No, I didn't see it.
Good afternoon.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Good
they-
You
afternoon.
came during good morning, but
This one.
Yes, time has gone by, but very interesting presentations this morning, so appreciate it.
Learned a lot.
Yeah.
value added for you.
Yeah, I was glad to be here for those. So we're here to, hopefully finalize the legalization of the structure at Mr. Waits' house. He submitted engineer plans. I updated the cover sheet, and also Nate Corrin put together a new survey for us. So
Did a lot that the board was requesting.
yes, tried to get in as fast as possible for you guys to take a look at that. I know James had a couple questions. I hope I answered them for you in regards.
Yeah, so the only thing is that, you added the plantings
Yes.
that were referenced in the description. The only thing I noticed is there's no plantings on the north side of the property.
Right.
So you only have a 6-foot buffer basically along the two sides of the bulkhead.
Right, so
So
as part of the DEC permit, we were required to plant 1,000 square feet. I think we're a little bit over that right now. And they didn't specify specific, like, we're in a unique situation here where we have 3 sides along the open water. So we kind of planted the beach grass where it was originally. There was a little bit by the pool, but that wasn't gonna last very well, we thought, with the new construction and people utilizing the backyard. So we planted the American beach grass on the eastern and the western side. He's also so far north of like any roadway or any lawn, and it's just sand.
Right, you don't have any, like other applications we look at, there's fertilized green grass where there's
He's
concern.
so far north of that.
So you've
Yes.
met the conditions of Blue Book at this point in time.
And we're a little bit over.
Right, you have different characteristics than other applications that we've looked at where there's highly fertilized.
An acre of green grass?
That we're trying to mitigate. So I think you've met the test based on site-specific and Blue Book regulations. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I think it's a good project.
So you've done everything.
the only suggestion would be just to make sure the 10-foot in the front is sand on here. So in the future, if you sell, then they can't. put
Yeah,
it
Well, that's a
on.
special condition. Could you just make a special condition in there that the 10-foot must adhere to Blue Book regulation?
I mean,
terms of-
currently the entire rear yard is sand and beach
I
grass.
understand, but sometimes you have somebody who has
Oh,
a
no.
change of heart and a 40-yard dumpster full of topsoil and they grow green
just-
grass. So
Yes, no.
as long as, I
absolutely.
agree with James, the 10-foot buffer
Okay.
should be established and then we could advance it.
You don't need a permit for AstroTurf, but.
Yeah.
Listen,
So that will be a condition. You don't need me to update the plans, or you do?
no, I think, can we put just a special condition on there that
Okay,
the
great.
10-foot seaward must be remain
Sand,
sand?
which it's in the regulations.
It's in the regulations
Okay.
Already.
already, exactly. It's got to stay sand. That's our regulations. That's our Blue Book.
Great.
All right, so that can advance, just make sure that that special condition is in there.
No other questions? That's it?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
You
All right, so that has advanced. Now let's go to general permit applications for determination, final stamp plan review.
One,
You have one, trustee McLaughlin.
me. All good. Good to me.
That's it.
You got everything there, James?
Yes.
All right.
That's a wrap.
Okay,
Okay.
so that will conclude the work session. It's 12:15. We do have executive session. I see some of our council is here. So I would like to make a motion to adjourn the
Second.
work session and go to executive session. Seconded by trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thursday. One for everybody.